I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to catch the end of this Nets and Clippers game, and I believe the Nets are about to win it finally after almost blowing another lead. But we're not talking NBA today. I want to quickly get into this that EA Sports has announced a new or the return of the college football game. I don't know if it's going to have the word NCAA on it, because it's just called EA Sports College Football. Interesting. So if you got a PS5 in the sitting there, or if you got an Xbox Series X, be my guest because I don't. On today's show, we've got an interview with Cody Felger of the Bring the Juice Pod, a very awesome Colts show. Probably the only Colts fan I've ever seen on Twitter. Thank you, Cody. Interview and a conversation with real Captain Lou of the Captain Lou Extravaganza, who's the second leg of the Triple Crown. And also a conversation as well with Tyler Valdez. Let's get right into it, guys. I don't have much time to talk. It's 3 action-packed interviews. You won't want to miss it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. 12ounce_Mike or 12ounce Mike, the hashtag. See you guys next time. See you guys Sunday for my Super Bowl pick. Here comes the conversation, just without further ado. My next guest is Cody Felger of Bring the Juice podcast, and I'm assuming a Colts super fan, fellow Colts super fan. What's going on, Cody?
Oh, not much, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm glad you, like we were just talking off air, you're one of the few ones to pronounce the last name right, so appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir. So I found you because I'm a Colts fan. Around Georgia, I feel like there's 5 of us in the entire state. So
Sure.
We're going to talk a couple Colts stuff, which is actually ties into a bunch of big-time NFL news. Cody, let's first start off with the Matthew Stafford trade, because I watched the Pat McAfee show, obviously big-time Colts punter, legendary Colts punter. What was your thoughts on the Matt Stafford trade and what the Lions got for him? Because I don't think the Colts would have given up that much.
No. And it's interesting. There's still some fans who said, oh, the Colts screwed up for not getting Matthew Stafford. And I was just like, no, I disagree strongly. Like, for that type of draft capital that you gave up to get Matthew Stafford, I get he's a good quarterback, but that was just crazy, in my opinion, by the Rams. And also trading Jared Goff as well, a former first pick. So yeah, overall, there was no chance the Colts were going to put that much into that trade. I honestly would have been upset if the Colts would have made a bigger trade than that. You know what I mean? So more than a first-round pick. Like, I've said that. My co-host Derek has said that. Like, we would have been a little bit upset if you would have given more than a first-round pick. Like, we were okay with 21 with where the Colts were, right? If you gave that up and maybe like a second or whatever. But for multiple first-round picks and a player and a third-round pick, yeah, that was way too steep in my opinion for the Colts. So as much as I liked Matthew Stafford, I thought they would be a good fit together. Yeah, the price was just way, way too much in my opinion, and I'm glad the Colts didn't pull the trigger there.
So, real quick, who do you think benefited from that trade? Because I'm feeling like the Rams benefited a little bit more, because although they gave up a bunch of stuff, I feel like it was more of a something like they admitted to the league, hey, we screwed up on Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Lions are good at drafting.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I don't know anymore what the Lions are with their new management. Maybe they are really good at drafting. I'm not sure exactly. But, I think both sides really benefited from this. Obviously, the Rams, they're wanting to commit to winning now for sure. They think they have the team to go, win a Super Bowl. So as much as I thought that trade was insane, like I don't blame them, because if they feel like they're just a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender and they felt like Jared Goff was holding them back, which obviously they did, right. Then I understand it, man. I do. But for the Lions' sake, we all knew that they haven't been good for years, even with Stafford. So to get that haul, like regardless if you draft well or not, just from a value standpoint, they won that in terms of value. But, like you said, like if the Rams go and win a Super Bowl, then maybe we can come back in a year or two and say, hey, the Rams won that trade. So it really, I think for both sides, it made a ton of sense. Exactly. In one hand, I'm bummed that the Colts didn't get him, but I'm kind of happy for Detroit because they deserve all that draft capital that they're going to get just for how bad it's been for so long. So, yeah, I think for both sides benefited, but from a value standpoint, I think definitely the Lions got a lot, and I'm happy for them. But man, if the Rams get their guy, like, good for them.
So let's transition now to Deshaun Watson. As a person who's always vouched for Deshaun Watson, would you give up the same thing for a younger player? I'm not sure what the player. I don't even know if I would want to give a good player at this point. But what would be your package for Deshaun Watson? Do you think Deshaun Watson's the Colts makes sense?
I mean, it does, but I just don't think the right. Texans will be willing to trade within the division. That's my only thing. And, I think it was rumored the Texans wanted 2 first-round picks, maybe another pick, and 2 defensive players. So, no. Yeah, for me, I don't know if I would do that. I'm not giving really any of our guys up on defense right now. Wow. I mean, yeah, you can take a guess at who those would be probably, but yeah, it probably would be something similar. Like, I would be fine with that. I honestly thought that's the kind of trade package I would expect for like a Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And now you think of it, oh man, if that's what Stafford can get, what can Watson get? Oh my goodness. Like, it's going to be maybe 3 first-round picks at this point. Right. But yeah, I would definitely, if it was like something similar to that, oh, absolutely, I pulled the trigger on that. Absolutely.
A couple guys that I'm not completely still sold on, but I still support. Carson Wentz with Frank Reich still, to me, would kind of for argument's sake, we got Phillip Rivers, and as Colts fans, I have never liked Phillip Rivers.
Sure.
I never cared for Phillip Rivers, and he was okay last year, but I felt like if we could pull a trigger on Phillip Rivers, why not Carson Wentz and even Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I think the biggest question with Wentz is, first, obviously he struggled, and also his contract is a very, very big contract. So I think in order to do that, the Eagles are going to have to eat some of that. Maybe you eat a good majority of that, but if I'm doing that, man, I want some, like, kind of like we saw with Brock Osweiler years ago, right? Where basically the Texans just traded into the Browns for picks. Like, I might have to get a couple picks in that as well if I'm going to take a guy like Carson Wentz and eat some of his massive contract that the Eagles signed him to. But Sam Darnold is one I am very much for right now, for sure, because I was kind of looking at it, and so I try not to like hype it up like I did with Matthew Stafford. I felt like I kind of like got people's hopes up, like not intentionally, but got people's hopes up of like it didn't happen, and people were like super sad and depressed. So with Sam Darnold, though, I think it makes a lot of sense. He's 23 years old, so he's probably as old as some of these rookie quarterbacks coming in.
Yep.
Obviously, he's been with the Jets, so he hasn't really had the chance to develop. I mean, we even saw with Ryan Tannehill, like after he left Adam Gase's system. I mean, you saw he's been thriving. Honestly, he's had a lot better career after that. So, yeah, I think for me, Sam Darnold's very interesting. And this is the argument I make, right? Because some people are like trade up, and I would be okay with that. But you'd have to trade a lot, knowing that you'd have to fall in love with the guy and just trade up and all that stuff. But, with Sam Darnold, you probably wouldn't have to trade the farm like you would trading up. And this guy's got a lot of potential. Like, I pulled up the clip from when the Colts played the Jets this past season. Sam Darnold made an incredible play early in that game where he basically just like, it was Andrew Luck-like type of play, right? So he's basically avoiding defenders, rolls to his right and finds a guy for a touchdown. And at that point, ties the game up. So I don't know. He's got a lot of potential. Obviously, he's got a lot of not good stuff that will have to be coached out of him.
Right.
But lots of potential there. And, I'm not really like I wouldn't commit to Sam Darnold long term. Obviously, you don't really know what you have there. But I kind of look at it like this. You would have him at least one more year on his rookie contract, right? So he still would be cheap. You could potentially have him 2 more years if you exercise that 5th-year option, right? So you could have him for 2 years pretty cheap, especially if he's playing at a really good level.
Right.
And if you trade away for him and he's not a good quarterback, you don't pick up that option. It's essentially a 1-year deal at that point. I mean, you'd really just be giving up like a third, or I don't even know what it would take for Sam Darnold, 2nd or 3rd round pick, maybe somewhere around there.
Right.
Unless, teams start bidding and drive the price up. But yeah, that's probably where I stand on Sam Darnold. I like the potential if you can get him there for relatively cheap and put him in a system with a quarterback guru like Frank Reich, former quarterback there.
Yeah,
I would be all for that. I mean, I think out of all the trade options, that one's the one that intrigues me the most, because I feel like we kind of know what Carson Wentz is at this point. We don't really know what a Sam Darnold is. I feel like he's, and my question, I guess, is, has he been scarred playing with the Jets for the couple seasons he's been there? For the 2 or 3 seasons he's played for them. That's my question. And we don't know right now, obviously. But that's something you'd have to weigh if you were the Colts for sure. But I like that. I like that. That's probably my most realistic one right now.
But realism is probably the thing to look at right now.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way: from watching Sam Darnold tape at USC and watching with the Jets, I know we just lost Anthony Costanzo to retirement, but I don't think I've ever seen Sam Darnold with a competent offensive line like the Colts.
No.
So that would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Matthew Stafford in a way, right? Like where you've never really seen it with a good team around him. Like, best offensive line he's ever had. Like we even saw it with Phillip Rivers. Went from probably his worst season, one of his worst seasons in his career in 2019 to one of his better seasons in 2020 because he had those pieces around him, right? He had a good offensive line. He had a really good running game. He had some solid receivers, especially if you addressed receiver, which I think you probably should, maybe in free agency or somewhere else. Yeah, I think there's really good potential that he is surrounded by so much talent that it brings out the best in him. And also, he played with Michael Pittman, Colts wide receiver at USC. So I think that there's that connection there.
And while
I like it.
I want Laviska Shenault, but Michael Pittman has been just fine if he can stay healthy. Granted, that's the same way with Paris Campbell. I mean, I felt so sorry for him at the beginning of the year.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
No, he was so good with Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I know. It was a bummer we only got to see him really for like a game, and then he had that. Like that's just a hit that you're just like, there's nothing you can do about that. Exactly. I just feel bad for Paris Campbell. Like he's not. People say he's injury prone, and maybe that was a little bit his rookie year, but he never had an injury history, right, at Ohio State. Yep. Really, that last one was very, very unfortunate. Like 99% of people who take that hit are going out for the year. So it just sucks. And so, yeah, you're right. I hope he can get back to where he is because he has been shown to be very electric when he gets the ball in his hands. And that was an element I felt like the Colts maybe were missing in their wide receivers a little bit. I mean, DeMichael Harris a little bit, but, having Paris Campbell just changes the dynamic of this offense, honestly.
Agreed. Speaking of dynamic offenses, Tom Brady chose Tampa Bay, and for right now, it looks like pretty obvious reasons. I learned this from the Pat McAfee show that Jim Irsay, in a long-winded press conference, in hindsight said, "Dang, I wish we could have had Tom Brady." He kind of thinks about that. What is your thoughts? Because I know we got Phillip Rivers, and we had to kind of cope with that.
Yeah.
Would you have even wanted Tom Brady, or that's a fine line to walk for me.
Yeah, I mean, as a Colts fan, I would say absolutely not from my fandom standpoint. But as just looking at it from an objective standpoint, I mean, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, look, I get it. People hate Tom Brady, but if he gives us the best chance of the Super Bowl, I don't care if I've hated him for years. Kind of like Phillip Rivers, right? Obviously, we hate Brady a lot more. But I'm kind of like, man, I agree because maybe you could have had him for a couple more seasons as opposed to Rivers only the 1 year. But, you do look at the team he has also. Like, when your number 4 receiving option is Antonio Brown, like that tells you something right there about how good your team is. So, it's kind of like, well, would he have done as good with Indianapolis with less dynamic weapons? I don't know. But, hindsight's always 20/20, right? I mean, I felt like Rivers was fine for what you needed him to be. So, it's kind of like, you know what? Either of those guys probably would have been a pretty solid option there, but I think this one kind of got the Colts fan base a little bit less riled up than a Tom Brady would have done. Man, I don't know how many people probably would have stopped being Colts fans if that would have happened. But yeah, it's interesting that Jim Irsay said that. I know that there had been rumblings about that. I didn't know Jim Irsay actually said that. That's kind of interesting.
Well, again, I didn't see the quote, but I know Pat McAfee, who wouldn't have said anything if it wasn't there. So I was like, wow, that's dang. So staying with the big game with Tom Brady, Super Bowl is on Sunday. This show is being aired on Tuesday nights. I don't know if you've made your pick for your podcast or if you want to save it for that. But let's say you haven't made your pick, what are you looking forward to in this game and who do you think wins if you can give us that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of interesting. It's like somebody used the whole comparison of Tom Brady being for a Star Wars reference, being Yoda, and then Patrick Mahomes being Baby Yoda. It's just the young versus the old kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to two of, if Patrick Mahomes keeps doing what he's doing, he could be considered one of the top best quarterbacks of all time. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup right there. Those two guys facing off again. I mean, Patrick Mahomes looking for back-to-back Super Bowls. I mean, like a decade ago, Brady was in this same spot, right? So it is
Yep.
very interesting to see that and see kind of maybe potential similarities there in those guys. So I'm looking forward to those two quarterbacks dueling. I think as far as the prediction goes, Tampa Bay is interesting. I'm kind of like still shocked that they made the Super Bowl because, looking at the regular season, I was like, they're very beatable in a lot
Up
of
and down.
ways. Yeah, they were very up and down, but I think now that they actually have all their receivers, like we just see the arsenal they have, it's just absolutely insanity. But saying that, I do think that the Chiefs will win this game.
Same.
Just because I think Patrick Mahomes can outduel Tom Brady, honestly. So I think it's going to be a little high scoring game because neither of these defenses, I guess, are like insane. That'll shut one of these quarterbacks down, I don't feel like. So I'm going to say 35-31, Kansas City. Going to take this one. It's going to be a close one. I have a feeling.
I'm also leaning. I haven't seen the betting odds yet. I don't know why I haven't looked at that, but I would definitely go over if the score was right if the total was right. Okay. So I agree with you. It's gonna be high scoring. I think it comes down to Eric Bieniemy versus Todd Bowles, which is weird because both those guys are black head coach like coordinators that kind of got snubbed for jobs recently.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I do like that matchup there because especially with Tyreek Hill going off in the first game. For me, I think the Chiefs cannot. They've started slow in a few playoff games recently, and that's the one thing that scares me. But I mean, we'll see. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's something like last Super Bowl where the Chiefs kind of started off slow, and then Patrick Mahomes became Patrick Mahomes again, and I mean, I could see that happening, man. I really could. I mean, this guy is insane. I mean, he is the reason why I am scared to play in the AFC for a long time.
So I have one last question for you. Well, another question, just a little bit hype you up here. I know you host Bring the Juice podcast, or you co-host it. You're big on YouTube with your Colt stuff. You want to have any shout-outs, little self-promotion here before we let you go?
Well, sure, I guess. Yeah, so I mean, we were talking a little bit off air. So for those of you who maybe haven't followed it or really know the story, so I've been on like Twitter for a while, like Colts Twitter. Right. But I never really like found my niche, like what I like to do. Like I did a lot of like writing off and on for a few years there. I think I jumped on in like 2016, 2017, around there. Maybe even a little bit earlier than that now that I think about it. But so it's been a few years that I've been on there. Right. But then in 2019, I noticed there really wasn't a ton of like outside Colts podcasts, right? Like outside of like the media.
Thank you.
So it's still that way. I feel like there's only a few, but I kind of decided like, okay, I feel like I can do this. Like I like to talk and I like to talk about the Colts specifically. So I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And lots of trial and error for sure, especially that first year. I mean, I look back at some of that stuff and I'm just like, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? Right. So, but it's just something where you just continue to get better, continue to improve, and just realizing, man, it's not about like me all the time. Like, I feel like a lot of people can come on here and just come on and podcast and try to make it about them all the time. And I'm like, that's just not what it's about, in my opinion. It's about promoting others. It's about producing, obviously, content, talking about what you love, and really not letting the haters get to you, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is weird that, it feels like there's just certain content creators that don't support each other. And I've always been like baffled by that. Like, why don't you? I mean, these people are taking their time and their energy to devote towards something that they love. Like, why wouldn't you support them? And not looking at it as a competition, but, as a family. I mean, that's what it is. Like, we all support the same team. Ultimately, we all want the Indianapolis Colts to be Super Bowl champions every single year, right? That's why we're here. So I'm not about, promoting about me, because it's not about me. It's about the team. It's about the fans. Like, that's what it's about. And so, that's why I do it, man. I mean, it is. And like, if people like you just messaged me a little bit ago and said, hey, you want to come on? I'm like, absolutely. I would love to come on. Like, that's what it's about. It's not about me. It's about helping others out. So, that's kind of what I want to do it. And like YouTube's actually been crazy. It's been crazy how it's kind of like exploded over the past year. It actually kind of started free agency last year. So in about a month is when like it went crazy for us with some of the free agent news, the DeForest Buckner news, the Rivers news. Colts were pretty active last year in free agency. So that helped. So it's been a really cool journey since then. And I'm really looking forward, man, to how we continue to grow and and how, what the moves the Colts make. And very thankful and very humbled for all the people who listen in, and appreciate them.
And I want to, not to unhumble you here, but I want to hype you up one more time. Thanks, Cody, for coming on. I think I speak for a lot of Colts fans who feel like we're not really a hyped up or media savvy team. Thanks for bringing us up, because I've been on Twitter since 2012. You're probably the first Colts fan I've actually ever seen like that. Wow, this guy actually is a spokesman for Colts fans. It's kind of cool to see, so I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done. We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. But challenges are what motivate us. Like flying masks to our employees around the world. We're doing everything we can to get you what you need, and doing everything we can to keep our people safe. I'm former Navy pilot Sarah Rhodes, and I'm proud to lead our Amazon Air network.
I had a lot of fun talking with Cody Felger of Bring the Juice podcast. He's a Colts fan, and I think I spoke for most Colts fans when I say thank you for taking this franchise, which can be kind of boring on social media, and coming on the show. And like he said, it was kind of like a crack of the moment. I said, hey, you want to come on the show? I said, what about now? He said, sure. Got ready. What a dude. He said he does it for the fans, and that's all you want to hear from those kind of guys. Great following as a Colts fan and as an NFL fan in general. Our next conversation I had was with Captain Lou, who's our first repeat offender on the Mike Sit It First show. Without further ado, here's Captain Lou, who earlier on his show tonight, on his live show, the second leg of our Triple Crown, picked the Chiefs to beat the Buccaneers 35-31. Thank you, Lou. So yeah, we'll be back. Captain Lou interview right now. For the second time, it is our first ever repeat offender. It's another Mike Sit It First conversation. This one is Captain Lou. Lou, what's up, dude?
Hey, often imitated, never duplicated, baby. How are you?
Oh, you and your monikers, bro. I'm doing well. So, yeah. Lou, we got some stuff to get into, quite a bit of stuff since the last show we talked to each other. This one, we're going to talk Super Bowl. We'll talk your Lions. We'll talk Matthew Stafford. Thank God the Colts did not go in on that trade. Wow. The Captain Lou Wrestling Show, we'll tease that a little bit. Nobody made the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Did I mention Super Bowl? So
you did some crazy game going on Sunday.
It's gonna take. It seems like forever, but once it gets there, it's like, oh, this week has flown by. Yeah. So Lou, Matthew Stafford is a Georgia resident, and you're a Detroit resident or Michigan, whatever.
Yeah.
We both know who Matthew Stafford is. How that trade that happened with the Rams, where Matthew Stafford was sent over for Jared Goff, who was the former number one overall pick, 2 first-round picks, and a third-round pick. Just tell me your whole thought process on what happened.
Well, as what everybody knows is that he went to ownership after the season, and he said he didn't want to start over. He didn't want to go through another rebuild. He wanted out, and he's put 11 or was it 12 years, I believe, into the Lions, and he's one of the toughest quarterbacks I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
the guy's played through a lot of injuries and whatnot, and I don't blame him. He's 34 years old. And so the Lions, they set out to get, the best offer they could. From what I've been hearing and what I've talked to a couple of people is that they had an offer on the table from San Francisco, but it wasn't as juicy as what the Rams were offering. And from what I was told was that San Francisco was going to make a decision by Monday. And then LA came in Saturday with their offer, and Detroit gave them a chance, and they said, no, that's too much. And I got to tell you, on the surface right now, I think it's a win-win for both teams. I love what I think Detroit got a haul. 2 number 1 draft picks. Yes, they could be, in a sense, second-round picks, because if the Rams do well, they're going to be at the, towards the end of the first round.
Fair.
But you know what? That's fine. And then they got a 3rd-round pick this year, and they got Jared Goff, and I know he has digressed a little bit, but I do believe that he may be able to regain his form, a change of scenery. I'm the eternal optimist. So yeah, I want him to do good, but my thing, Mike, and it's funny is I look at this trade, and Matt Stafford's going into a great situation. He's got an opportunity to possibly, get to the Super Bowl. But here's my thing, and this is what I'm really interested to seeing. How is he going to be handling the pressure? Because the pressure is going to be squarely on Matt Stafford's shoulders. Yep. Now, he's never had that kind of pressure in Detroit mentally. Physically, he has, because he's run for his life. But now, there's the 3 toughest jobs in the city of Detroit is a quarterback, a goalie, and a closer. And I think he's gonna find a little bit more pressure in LA, but he's got the weapons. He's got one of the best minds in all of football in Sean McVay. Sounds like they've hit it off already. And I think it's a win-win for both teams. I really do. I think Detroit got the best that they could have gotten. I've heard they may have gotten a better offer from Carolina, but they got a good quarterback in return. And I like the deal for both sides.
Yeah, thoughts aside on Jared Goff, let's be very clear. He was a former number 1 overall pick, and that's even if he wasn't meant to be there, it counts for something. Somebody saw something.
Right.
And Mark Brunell is now your quarterback's coach.
Yeah.
You're underneath Dan Campbell. You guys got a whole new thing going on, and Jared Goff is super young, so why not?
Hey, he's in the prime of his career. They've got Anthony Lynn as an offensive coordinator. Let's not forget that. Right. And, they've got a few weapons. I still say DeAndre Swift could be a decent back in this league if he stays healthy. Detroit's hasn't had a running game since, Barry left back in 99. So, that tells you how bad it's been. I think I heard a stat that Matthew Stafford only had 11 100-yard rushing games there while he was a quarterback with Detroit. So again, I think, Goff's got something to prove. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. And I think that could benefit Detroit as well. Let's not be delusional. Detroit is not going to, they're not at the level with the Green Bay Packers. So, they've got some pieces in place. Their line is a little bit better, but it's going to take a while. And, if he doesn't pan out, there's no guaranteed money. In a year or two, they can draft a quarterback, groom him, and, go from there. So again, I love the trade for Detroit. And I hope, I was a Stafford guy. I still am. I want him to do good. I'd love to see him win a Super Bowl in LA.
Stafford grew on me. As a person in Georgia, I went through years of Mark Richt mediocrity. And it kind of turned me off from players like AJ Green and Matthew Stafford. But eventually, Stafford is one of the guys I came around to. As for the Rams, I think win now is a must. Like you said, the focus will be on Stafford. So it's going to be fun. Like you said, both teams. I mean, I've looked at this myself, and I know you and one of my other guests tonight, Cody Felger, both of you guys said it's a win-win. And I agree, because both the flaws are about the same. There's not much there. Just good stuff going on. So You're right. And it beats Pistons basketball, for crying in the sake.
Oh, for God's sakes. No. Yeah. I was talking to Glenn Kaplan about that. And he asked me, and I said, this is a tough time for Detroit sports right now. This reminds me, Mike, of the 1970s, around 1976, when the Red Wings were one of the worst teams in the league. The Pistons made the playoffs with a 36-46 record.
Woo. And
the Lions were about 7-7, and the Tigers had just gotten off a season where they lost 100. They had 103 losses. So it was a rough time for Detroit sports. And this is getting to that point, but I like the direction that the Tigers, the Red Wings, and the Lions are starting to go. The Pistons, I don't know. Stan Van Gundy left them just
high and dry.
Oh my God! And it's going to be a rough few years.
There you go. Let's transition. Well, let's keep it in football, but let's talk the big game. There's another quarterback who's gotten quite a bit of hype. Is Tom Brady. Grant, I know you're not a Packers fan, but I'm beginning to push an agenda on my show. The reason the referees took 10 seconds to throw a flag was because the referee reached for his wallet on accident and had to pull out the flag instead. So, do you believe the Buccaneers? I mean, who's going to win the game? I don't know if you've made your pitch on your show. I believe the Chiefs are going to win, but they cannot start slow. Give me a couple of thoughts on this game.
Well, I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to come down to ball control. Can Tampa Bay, can they take the time of possession? That's going to be big. The loss of the two tackles, or especially Eric Fisher for Kansas City, is going to be huge. I mean, he's been protecting Mahomes ever since he got there. The Central Michigan product, he's got a torn Achilles, he's out. And I think that defensive line of Tampa Bay is really
nasty.
They have really, really come together. And Jason Pierre-Paul is, and he's led the way. As much as this pains me, yeah, exactly.
He has three fingers on one hand.
Oh, I know. And as much as this pains me with the Ndamukong Suh being, leading the way too, is, the way he left Detroit, although apparently he called Jared Goff and said, Detroit said, you'll love the city. He loves it. But anyways, man, it's almost a coin flip. I think Kansas City's going to win in the end. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be very close. It's going to be a great game. I took Monday off so I could actually stay up and watch the whole game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a great game, and I could see it even going into overtime. It's going to be fun to watch.
You know what? That could be a possibility. Again, I will make this very clear. I've said it to people before. The Chiefs cannot start slow.
No.
This whole crap of great. Now the Bills game, let's be very fair. 9-0 was kind of overblown because they held them to a field goal, then McCole Hardman muffs a punt. It's not really,
right.
You're starting slow. But they cannot be down early is what I'm saying. I think it comes down to Eric Bieniemy and Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Two black coaches that haven't gotten a lot of benefits out recently.
Mm-hmm.
What are you about to say?
No, I'm just going to say I agree with you, everything you said. And, the other thing that I want to see is what kind of pressure Kansas City can get on Brady.
Yeah.
They handled the pressure of Green Bay's defensive line. Now, Brady threw 3 picks. We all know that. It's well documented. And Aaron Rodgers couldn't take advantage of it. And, there's some doubt to what he was doing on that last drive, between him and Matt Nagy. We could talk the whole show about that. We could go back and forth on that. I'm interested to see how that goes. And again, I think it's going to come down to how much pressure they can put on Mahomes. I mean, he's a magician.
Oh,
He's got the weapons. If they can harass him and make him make bad decisions, who knows? Tom Terrific could win another Super Bowl. But I don't know. I like Kansas City. I think it's going to be very close. Could be a field goal. It could be overtime. But man, there's just so many variables in this. You got two great teams, two wonderful coaches, two wonderful quarterbacks too. One a Hall of Famer and one that's, unless he really stubs his toe here, another one that's a future Hall of Famer. So it really is going to be fun.
So I don't like it's a quarterback matchup isn't saying, like you said, one Hall of Famer and one guy who should never have even won a football game, but Bill Belichick saved him. You're right. Two very good quarterbacks.
Oh God. All the hate, I'll tell you what, that's fine. The funny thing is,
What?
Mike, the funny thing is with Brady, if you recall, he wasn't even the starting quarterback at Michigan in 98.
Explain that to people because I have no idea. Before you go on, he was drafted to Major League Baseball. I want to be very clear, in the 13th round. So that whole narrative of he was an athlete is a load of crap. I could be drafted in the 13th round of baseball. I'm serious. The farm system is baseball is so freaking. It's only the first and second round. The 13th round is so far back. It's not even funny.
Well, yeah, Drew Henson was the starting quarterback. They alternated, and Drew Henson. I don't know if you know the story behind this, but he was drafted by the New York Yankees by George Steinbrenner. You know why?
Ooh.
Because he did not. That was back when Michigan was kicking the crap out of Ohio State every year.
Times have changed.
He did not want Henson to beat Ohio State, so he drafted him. Henson's only problem was he couldn't hit a curveball. So after he failed with the Yankees, he latched on. He went back to pro football and played for a while with the Cowboys until, that didn't work out back in the early 2000s. So,
so I had no idea that Tom Brady's starter, I had no idea he played football too. I know he played in the NFL. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I guess if your backup gets drafted in the 6th round, you kind of had to have been drafted earlier. That does make sense, actually. My bad. Okay, so let's touch on this real quick because I want to touch our last really 5 minutes on your new show.
Okay.
For a good 30 seconds to a minute, tell me your thoughts on the Major League Baseball having no Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any. I'm in the minority here, and I know I am with Curt Schilling, and I'll tell you why. They didn't elect Jack Morrison to the Hall of Fame with 257 wins, 3 World Series championships. He was the leading. He led the 80s in wins with the Tigers. Then went to the Twins. Then went to the Blue Jays. Look back in the archives. You watch the 1-0 10-inning complete game shutout that Jack Morris had against the Braves in the 91 World Series. Check it out sometime. I know the Don Larson perfect game in 57. I get all that, but that was one of the best pitching performances of all time. You talk about clutch, and he didn't get voted in. And my argument, as I posted in my article on our website, was that, if he would have been in LA for the Yankees, Boston, Philadelphia, he would have been voted in. There's no doubt about it. You've got 12 people that vote for the Hall of Fame from the New York Post. That's asinine. And then, Curt Schilling, to me, he's a good pitcher. He pitched a long time. Yes, he had 3,000 strikeouts, pitched 20 years. I get it. But he only had 216 wins. Yes, he helped Boston. He had Boston get rid of the curse. I get it. But I would take a 10-inning shutout win in Game 7 of a World Series over a bloody sock in Boston any day. But there was nobody deserving of it. Bonds and Clemens, okay, yeah, but they cheated. They used PEDs. They admitted it. So they're out. And I'm telling they're going to eventually get in by the Veterans Committee, as will Schilling. It's going to happen, but that's how Morris got in. So that's my argument. That's what I base it on. And I just, the days of the 300-game pitcher are long gone. Once Verlander's done, you're not going to see anymore. They're going to lower that threshold. But even at 250 or 225, Schilling's not there. I mean, yeah, he was clutch, but so was Morris. And I'm going by that. And I'm going to go to my grave with that because, again, he pitched in a major market. He pitched in Boston, pitched in Philly. He went out, pitched in Arizona for a while, got a World Series with them. But he gets the bias. I'm sorry. There's an East Coast bias with everything, and especially with the Hall of Fame voting, because you got a good majority of the New York market, the LA market, Boston, and especially now with Boston with Schilling, he's always going to be married to them. I'm sorry, doesn't deserve it.
It's like Bill Russell with the Celtics, if we're being honest. 11 championships was nice, but when you're being smothered by Wilt Chamberlain in your individual matchup, Boston media is kind of helping you out just a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay, so we have about 3 minutes left. I want to I'll kind of give you the introduction here so you can talk about other stuff about it. But you like wrestling. It's entertainment for sure, if anything. All Elite is kind of taking a little bit. WWE is kind of, getting kind of corny now. But you and your old tag team partner, Matt, your son, are going to have a new show. When is that? Give me some little golden eggs here.
Well, I appreciate that. We're going to start it tomorrow. Wednesday night, 8:00, right after the Logan Ward show. It's going to be 1 hour every other Wednesday for now. Once we get our feet wet and we get the bugs worked out, we're going to probably go every week with it. But it's just a look back. We don't have a wrestling show on the network right now, and it's something that Again, it's a hobby of mine. I've watched it for almost 50 years now. And, my son is very knowledgeable in it. We've done podcasts on it in the past. And we're going to talk about all the goings on in pro wrestling, the good and the bad. We're going to talk history of it. We'll go back and look at stuff that went on 30, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. There's a lot to talk about in it. And, we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to try to get some guests. We've got some other guys here on the network. Philly Pete's a big wrestling guy. I think Chris Mancuso. Yep. They love wrestling. We're going to get them on. Once we get the bugs worked out, we're going to have fun with it, and it's just another thing that we want to do. And, it's a hobby, and, we're going to take it and see what happens. We're going to jump off the top rope, get the barbed wire out. We'll get, we'll get the cage matches going. Who knows? It'll be fun.
It had to be Lou. I can just imagine Lou from the top rope with son Matt saying, "Let's go." One day, maybe if we don't have the virus, good Lord, maybe if Johnson & Johnson's baby formula vaccine works, maybe, we'll see some ring action from you guys.
We'll get the fans back. They're going to have probably 30,000 for WrestleMania at Tampa Stadium, where they're having the Super Bowl.
They're having 20 for the Super Bowl, I know.
Yeah, I know they're going to be able to have a few more because the ring, obviously smaller than the football field. They'll get another 10 to 15,000 on the field, or at least their goal is to get it to 30,000. We'll see what they do. There's a lot of time between now and then for that. So,
Okay, so the first person to grace the show, the airwaves with Mike Said It First, is real Captain Lou of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. I'll have his information up top, so you ain't got to worry about all that. Appreciate you, Lou.
It's been a pleasure, Mike, as always. We'll have to get you on our show sometime when you get time.
And tell us your greeting once again, or your goodbye.
Oh, this is Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open.
Thank you. I appreciate Captain Lou coming on the show as well. That was two really good conversations, in my opinion. Again, you can catch Lou's show tomorrow night live with his son, Matt. I believe he called it the Captain Lou Wrestling Extravaganza on 12 Sports and Zingo TV Channel 761. That's tomorrow after the Logan Ward show on 12 Sports. Our show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. When you sign up, enter the promo code 12 Sports. That's promo code 120Z Sports, all caps, no spaces, for up to a $1,000 first deposit bonus. No one does it like 12 Sports and MyBookie. Also at 12OunceSportsRadio.com/Amazon, we know it's time to shop. You need groceries. You need some awesome electronics. Whatever you need, please use 12OunceSportsRadio.com/Amazon. It's our affiliate link. Costs you nothing. but it might give me and the boys something to look at. Thanks so much for tuning in. Our final conversation was with Tyler Valdez, another repeat offender. We talked NBA, Super Bowl. He's a Raiders fan, so he knows about the Chiefs and all kind of good stuff. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again Sunday at noon Eastern live for another Mike Said It First. I'll make my official Super Bowl prediction. Have a good one, everybody. Here's the Tyler Valdez conversation. All right. Earlier we had Captain Lou, Cody Felger, and now another repeat defender on the Mike Said It First conversations. This is Tyler Valdez.
What's going on, Mike?
Sports. What's going on, dude? Oh, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, Monday night.
Oh, yeah. This airs Tuesday, by the way. All my interviews, though, are happening Monday, just to let you guys know. So unlike the other two conversations, let's go ahead and talk about NBA first, because you are my guy. I like football is nice and all, but sometimes it's nice to talk about the NBA first. What a weekend in National Basketball Association.
Yeah, actually, Sunday night I flipped it on and I just happened to see the ending of the Nets and Wizards game.
Love it.
Live, and it was it was probably one of the craziest games I've seen in a while as an ending. Just come down 5 with under 10 seconds left and to win the game. It was pretty crazy. I don't know if it was as good as them for getting the win or as bad on the Nets for fumbling the game away.
So, as people may have heard my Captain Lou conversation, we talked about this a little bit, and one of the things that I mentioned to him was how the Wizards are supposed to be in these kind of games, right? The Wizards are supposed to be in these, shootouts, but it comes a point when you're the Nets and you have to be able to guard a stick, Kyrie Irving. I don't understand how you can't guard. That made no sense to me.
Yeah, I think the Wizards actually, maybe this is the game that gets them on the right track. It's only been about 10 games of Beal and Westbrook in there, so maybe they get it going. They haven't really got the benefit of the doubt that the Nets have being a new team together, No one really gave them the benefit of the doubt, and they're just ready to blow it up. But I think you just let them play the season out. They might improve.
That's fair. So let me get to this real quick, because you just released a new power rankings. I'm gonna see where the Nets were. What was this?
Had about 7th.
Okay, I think okay. So you're at 8th on the Nets,
Okay.
and then the Wizards are 29th. Was this before or after the game?
I did that this morning. I wrote those. Yeah, the Wizards. I want them to prove, but they haven't shown enough to start moving them up the rankings, right?
Yeah, 4-12. That's bad.
Start winning some more games, and then yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
With the Eastern Conference, you're only a few
Right.
games away from contending for a playoff spot. So
That's true. Actually, I got that up now too. You mentioned the Eastern Conference. Then, Wizards they're 4-12, but they're 4 games back of 8th, which is of 10th, which is
yeah, a lot of games
the
left.
play-in. I got you.
And I think they have some postponed games, so there's a lot of basketball left. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Wizards a little bit then, since we touched on that. As a fan, I like Bradley Beal, but people are making the mistake of painting him as some franchise cornerstone. Like option number 2, I get.
Yeah, he's
But to me,
a solid number 2. Yeah.
like you can average 35. That's nice, but they're not just losing games; they're being blown out of games over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, there's no depth there. You have Westbrook when he's there. He's been missing a lot of games though too. A lot of those guys have been missing games. They don't have they don't have a big man, but I think if Westbrook could stay healthy, they contend for a playoff spot for sure. It's going to depend on that because, like you said, Beal, he's really good too. But if you're going in every night by himself, he can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One last NBA point here. Every Tuesday night on my show, I'm going to talk about your NBA power rankings because I think it's a good little topic point to discuss. Your top 5 are Lakers, Clippers, and Clippers by with Paul George. What a great season he's having. Jazz, who just lost, Sixers, who are Doc Rivers hasn't played well.
I have them right now. They're my favorite to win the East. Yeah.
Whoa, really?
Sixers. Yeah. I mean, with Doc Rivers coaching, they're a trade away from adding another piece from being stacked team. Really.
I'm actually, so as a Miami Heat fan, we're 7-12. We're 25th on your list. Fine by me. The COVID crap is so annoying this year. Like, I feel like we're going to be so far behind. It's going to be so hard to get a good playoff spot.
Yeah, it's gonna be the East it has improved, but yeah, if Butler can come back healthy, you guys should be able to compete. Heroes out right now too, I think, with COVID, but yeah, it's a long season. It's gonna be like a war of attrition. Who could stay healthy? Who
Right.
could every night have their core healthy, playing games.
Who's more committed to the championship?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's one of the concerns with a team like Brooklyn.
Right.
Are they even committed as a team like the Lakers, where
I
they're
don't think
locked
so.
in?
I don't think so. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about now. Matthew Stafford got bombshell traded to the Rams
Big news,
For-
yeah.
for 2 first-rounders, a former number 1 of our pick in Jared Goff, who's a quarterback, and a 3rd-round pick. Initial thoughts and reactions on that trade?
I think Lions got as good as a deal because you knew that Stafford was getting traded. So to get that kind of haul when you know someone's getting traded, that's a good package. For the Lions, they have to build around him. He's not a guy that's going to do it by himself.
Right.
When he's had in LA, when he had Gurley running well and he had a good passing game, he was able to excel. But when it was all on his shoulders, Goff had issues. But I think if Detroit could add a receiver, maybe re-sign Galladay, Hawkins is getting better. DeAndre Swift's a good running back. Georgia Bulldog, just like Gurley, so maybe he could turn it around just like that.
Right.
For the Rams, like if
yeah.
they win the Super Bowl in these next 2 to 3 years, if they win a Super Bowl, then they win the trade. Is it basically going to depend on that?
My biggest thing was saying that if the Rams win a Super Bowl, they win the trade. Let's say the Rams win the Super Bowl in like 2023. Mike said it first. Let's say that happens, and then Matthew Stafford goes away, and then that's it. If the Lions are having a better record in 5 or 6 years, now that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Did they really win the trade by just getting a chip?
Basically, yeah. It's gonna be one of those trades where we look back 5 years and then we find out who actually won the trade.
Right. I love it though. It was like, whoa,
Yeah.
talk about the NBA.
It was exciting news, yeah.
It was fun. Like the NFL needs more stuff like that. And last thing Deshaun Watson, I may talk about. Last thing Deshaun Watson everybody should pull Deshaun Watson. It was like, hey, that was pretty cool to see a trade in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like what's popping, right?
Yeah.
Valdez, Super Bowl Buccaneers versus the Chiefs. I know you're a Raiders fan. We talked about that before. Chiefs did get the Raiders the next time, by the way, since we last talked.
It was a great game.
So that was fun.
All night that game.
Y'all played them well.
Yeah.
It's AFC West. You guys always tear each other apart. Who wins the Super Bowl? How bad is it? And what do you expect in this game?
I actually expect I see the Bucks win a close game. I mean, every year we hope for a close game.
Right.
But hold on, it's not because of Brady. Brady has that much to do with it. So
Well, I figured that.
I seen that a few of the offensive linemen for Kansas City are out with COVID issues. They're probably not going to be able to play. They're already having injury issues there. If they can get to Mahomes, if the Buccaneers can get to Mahomes, then I could definitely see them controlling the game. That's what Brady's done his whole career. Is if the defense could just maintain for him, he could control a game, win the game.
So you're saying 2 more offensive linemen now?
Yeah, I seen some today about they having issues with offensive linemen. I know one of them was already getting banged up throughout the playoffs, but yeah, I believe they're having some issues with the line.
Well, because I heard DeMarcus Robinson, the wide receiver, and I also heard about Eric Fisher, I believe, who
yeah,
he was out with an Achilles injury.
yeah.
So wow, so that's a thing. That could be huge because I know you're on top of that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, either way, I give the Buccaneers the edge as far as defense, regardless.
That's fair.
And
I think this game comes down, like you said, defense. I think it comes down to Eric Bieniemy versus Todd Bowles.
the teams, yeah, and these two teams actually played this year. It was a really close game. It came down to actually it was kind of a weak penalty, roughing the passer on Mahomes
Right.
to extend the drive, and that being the difference. But yeah, it was a really close game. I could definitely see Tampa flipping and winning this game.
You got me thinking, Mr. TV. You got me thinking.
I think part of it is too. I see with KC, like they're kind of with the Warriors. It's kind of they're kind of not at 100%. They're kind of getting at 75, kind of skating away. No one.
You want Nets? You want Nets?
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Too overconfident. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's true because One of the things I've talked about this, you guys heard my other conversations as well. One of the things that I've talked about is the Chiefs didn't start slow versus the Bills, but you can't be down early versus the Buccaneers by 7 or 10 points.
You can't always rely on flipping that switch because
Yeah.
the team that's in the Super Bowl, they're not going to allow you to just flip the switch. Especially
Yeah.
against a Brady-led team in the Super Bowl. I think Brady's going to let you just come back and do what you want to do.
Well, he's smart enough to realize he's been in the league for
Control
20
the clock.
years.
Yeah. If Buccaneers get up like 14-3, 14-10, something like that,
Oh, it's over.
they should just pound the rock. Fournette's been running well. I see it. I kind of see it happening. All the things are kind of working out towards Buccaneers' favor.
I'll put it this way. Last year I did say if the 49ers were up, then they would win. That team has Jimmy Garoppolo. This team has Tom Brady. I do not like Tom Brady, but I will give him the edge over Garoppolo.
And I mean, I know it was a year ago almost now, but that was a pretty close game. There was a couple play difference between the Niners winning that game.
Oh man, you got me thinking now. Goodness
I
gracious.
mean, it was about 3/4 of the Niners winning that Super Bowl last year, and Mahomes did what he did. That's why I'm not saying the Buccaneers are just going to win. I'm saying it's going to be a close game. And I can see the Buccaneers edging it out.
So in your perfect world, like I'm not saying your perfect world, but let's say like, do you believe the Buccaneers go up like 14-3 or whatever, and then they kind of hold them just in case?
I mean, that's the best case scenario, right? If we're talking their game plan for winning the games, get up to a nice little lead. That's how you have to beat the Chiefs, really. There's no really other way.
Yeah.
You have to get up early. You're playing from behind against Mahomes. You can't do it. I haven't seen a team really do that. Come back against them. You have to get up on them early.
Yep.
Control the clock.
Got about less than a minute left, Tyler. Swan Sports, we're growing, man. I've been here for about a good year or two. You've been here a little bit less than that. How you liking the social media stuff, man?
It's great, man. Having sports back after COVID, it's great just to be able to do this, just be able to talk about sports and enjoy it.
And college basketball, hey.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I think it was about March Madness last year when everything got shut down. Right before
that was a pain in the butt.
We were all itching for the tournament right there, and then it got took away. So I'm definitely for it.
If the NBA had already discussed the bubble, I guess
Yeah.
maybe they would have done it. But man, that was so annoying.
Yeah, it's a little easier though for the tournament. It's only about a couple weeks. A few teams end up making it that long to where you can do the bubble.
Okay, I know you haven't prepped for this, but last thing, because we're out of time now. Last thing, who wins the championship this year in college basketball? Just give me a favorite.
I actually did a parlay a while back. I did the Bucks winning the NFC, which they did. I got Baylor winning the tournament.
Baylor looked good.
I got Baylor winning the tournament, and I got the Sixers winning the Eastern Conference. So we'll see. Win a couple $100 off a dollar bet.
Doc Rivers has it looking good. So hey.
Yeah.
TV from 12 Ounce Sports. Appreciate you, sir. Taking time out of your day. Oh, it's been fun. And I'll see you next time.
All right.